Well, overdue. There's no moment more fraught to a couple that's developing the relationship than meeting the parents. And this is a story about meeting the parents. I was involved. We were friends for 9 months before we ever hooked up. And so it was a delight. Even though that memory is like the first kiss, but we knew what was going to happen after that. Well, we'd been together for a couple of months, and she was going to be leaving to study on the Baja Peninsula and watch whales for a semester. And she told her parents she was going to take a couple weeks before that to go to Costa Rica and just, bum around. Well, not bum around, because a friend of mine was going to be her house mother, and her husband, her travel guide. Her parents refused. They said, "You can't go to that." She said, "Well, I can. I have the money, and I'm paying for it." And she gave them a PowerPoint presentation of why Costa Rica was less likely to lead her to be captured and sold into sexual slavery than Miami was. Of course, we laughed because too late. But her parents said, "Look, if you go, your driving privileges are taken away." How do you take away the driving privileges of someone that's 21 years old? But not give her another car? Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Lindsay goes to the Baja, and everyone thought our ardor would cool in that time. But of course, thanks to the internet, it didn't. But halfway through that time, Lindsay she was so enamored of me that she had to tell her parents. And she started with her dad, who said, I don't care. If this older guy makes you happy, I'm happy. But her mom did her research, found out who I was, and decided that I was a horrible sexual predator, called my college's human relations department, and demanded that I be fired. They said, "He's not doing anything unethical, he's not violating rules, and clearly this is consenting adults, so sorry." Well, plus which my dean of faculty had married a student, and I was the best man at his wedding, so who knows. Moreover, everyone knew. I mean, Lindsay had been crocheting a beautiful fall colors scarf for me the entire fall semester that I wore all winter, including on my passport photo for like 10 years. So, that was fine. Well, she got back from the Baja, and of course, she couldn't drive, but she could drive my car. And we did a camping trip in Maine. It was a delight. I got to meet 2 aunts, 2 uncles, and 2 grandparents on that visit, who were the ones, of course, helping support her through everything. When her parents threatened to withhold her tuition, both grandmothers said, "Go, fine, we'll pay for it if you don't." Of course, if we got married, the college would have paid, but never mind. Okay. Well, a year later, Lindsay is going to graduate school in Worcester, Massachusetts. I helped her find an apartment. Finally, her parents upped and gave her one of their old vehicles, a big van, I'm sure because they thought there was an escape vehicle and she could pack all her stuff and split. Well, but we visit each other every couple of weeks in Worcester. Lindsay hated Worcester. It was one of those, broken glass cities. And she decided she didn't like graduate school. So on the way back to Worcester from her conference presentation at Toronto, we get to 81 and she says, "Can we just go home?" And of course I said, "Yeah." Well, we then planned and executed a hand fasting, which is a Celtic ceremony where you sort of do a trial marriage for a year, and you hang the cords on your wrist, but you don't tie them. And we had a mead toast at Booby's Brewery and listened to, Blue Voodoo with 30 of our friends and relatives in the place upstairs. It was a blast. So, our life was going great until the following spring when I said, "Well, do you want to renew our hand fasting?" And Lindsay said, "No. I want to have kids. You think you don't want to have kids. It's time for us to go our separate ways." Well, it was amicable. And we lived in separate bedrooms while she found a job, found an apartment, bought furniture, planned to move, et cetera, et cetera. Except during that time, I went on this bicycle ride. And on that ride, I see this oak tree and imagine our children under it. So I come back and say, "We're making a big mistake. We can't do this. We shouldn't split up." And she said, "I don't believe you." She moved, and a week later came back. That was nice. So we'd been through this history already, and by that fall, we'd gotten engaged. Both falling to our knees at the top of the Florin Hill church in Mount Joy. And she basically said to her parents, the train is leaving the station. You can be on board or not. They had refused to meet me up to this time. So I met her mom and went with her. Her mom's a teetotaler, and she bought me a beer. Big deal. Her dad's had gotten rid of his Porsche because it was too small for him and gotten himself a huge Mustang. He took us out to dinner from the New York Fair. And her parents paid, well, they had a potluck for the rehearsal dinner and paid for the food at the wedding. And we got married in Paradise, Pennsylvania, in the spring of 2014. And her whole extended family was there. My brother came up from Chicago and danced with the bride. It was the same band, Blue Voodoo. So we boogied all night to that. It was great. It was great. And of course, by 2015, Lindsay was pregnant. And I was elated. And then she had some problems. She was hospitalized. She was preeclamptic. I thought she was going to fucking die. In the hospital, emergency C-section. And my son, Byron, is born 6 weeks prematurely. And Lindsay recovered, but her parents jumped in. They came and visited us a couple days a week. They were wonderful and supported us this whole time through all this. Well, Lindsay and I have now split. The time came. We still have this delightful young man. We're still amicable. And her mother has said, the mother that wanted me to be fired, that in perpetuity for any family event that they have, I am invited to bring children, future girlfriends, what have you, because I'm a member of the family.